Hello, and welcome to day 62 of Dungeon 23. Today we're going to be making a room with a kind of combat encounter, kind of a puzzle, and it's going to have a custom monster that it does act like a monster because it has like a stat sheet that I made for it, but also it's kind of acts more as like an environmental trap kind of thing. And this room is not going to be blocked off by that magical barrier. Maybe the adjacent room's probably going to be, but not this one. And it's going to be the room that's immediately right down here, so immediately going north. So let's just sketch out the actual room, and then I'll go into more detail about how it actually is going to work. Alrighty, so here we have our room, and it has 4 doorways, and it's going to have these 4 kind of like wall support beam things here, and that is because of the nature of the creature we're going to be making, or have made. I always like to make the monster sheets beforehand, because it's just a whole lot of me just slowly upping and downing numbers and writing things out and making the grammar work for me personally, so not the most engaging thing. So that's already done. But what the actual monsters are going to be in here is going to be loosely based on a monster I used previously for a different party, and I'm reusing a sprite, although the monster just is only slightly thematically the same. So we're going to go over here and go to our miscellaneous, because frankly I have no idea what this thing's supposed to be. It is a giant floating eyeball that is on fire. And should we make it really big? It's a bit too big. We're going to keep it medium. And what it's going to do is, well, let's hop over to its actual character sheet, and then we'll see how it actually functions. Alrighty, so here we have the burning eye. Now this is just the basic stuff here. Obviously we're calling it the burning eye because it is a giant eye that is on fire. It is a medium monstrosity. I say monstrosity because frankly I can't really think of any other creature type it could be. And monstrosity is just really the whole grab bag miscellaneous creature type category. And it is unaligned because it was just made by a wizard to do something. And I know technically that'd be construct, but just I don't want to go on that whole tangent again. More so it was summoned by a wizard anyway. So armor class of 14, so pretty decent. Pretty good HP of 60. Not going to be taken down so easily. Speed of 0. It cannot move on its own. And we're going to get to why that is in a little bit. Just keep in mind that it cannot move on its own. For its attributes, strength is just a +0, nothing special there. Dex +1, con +2. Okay, but not very good. Intelligence and charisma are both -3. This thing, not intelligent, not charismatic, has a very low sense of personality, a low sense of self, and a low understanding of the world around it. However, it has a really high wisdom of 17 for a +3, because it's a giant floating eye. It pays attention to its surroundings. Now, scrolling down, we have our more so extra information here. I don't know what I have to call these, but it's like its resistances and saves and all that crap. +2 proficiency bonus, because 3rd level still. It's a low CR monster, although I don't actually calculate the CR because, again, CR isn't useful. It doesn't have any saves, no damage resistances. It is immune to fire, because it's on fire. Obviously, it's immune to it. It is vulnerable to piercing damage. Why? Because it is a giant eye, and it does not appreciate being poked. And it is immune to prone, and we'll get into why in a second. For its skills, just a +1 to investigation, and a +7 to perception. It's super observant. It has dark vision for 60 feet and a really high passive perception of 17. It's probably going to notice the party. It doesn't have any tools, and it does not know any languages. Scrolling down further, here are its 2 special abilities. Hover. It is always hovering 3 feet above the ground. So if like a spike growth happens, if a grease happens, if anything happens where it's like there's like a think you have to make a save for touching the ground. It doesn't have to, because it is just floating above the ground. The second thing is that it's illuminated. It's bright. It's illumination. The burning eye emits bright light for 10 feet, and then dim light for an additional 10 feet. Obviously, this thing isn't going to try to stealth. Should be immediately noticeable by the party that this thing is around, because it's going to be bright. For its actions, it has a firebolt, just a ranged spell attack, +5 to hit. Basically, it's just the firebolt cantrip. The only difference is that it has a little special quirk. Other than my poor spelling. Whenever it takes cold damage, until the start of its next turn, or rather, until the end of its next turn, it does half damage of its firebolt. So it normally does 2d10 fire damage. If it takes cold damage, it does only 1d10 until the end of its next turn, in which it doesn't take cold damage. Basically the way like regeneration works and all that stuff. Only it's, instead of healing, it's just doing less damage, and instead of it being like radiant or fire damage, it is just cold damage. And its final thing is teleport. This thing has no real movement of its own. For like its turn on its movement action, like its movement ability, it just can't do. But it can use its action to teleport up to 120 feet away to an empty space it could see. And also, it is on recharge. I don't know if we talked about this before. I feel like we have, but I'll go over it again. The way recharge works is, it says recharge 5/6. That means that you roll a d6, and on a 5 or a 6, it can use this ability again. But if it's like a 1 to 4, then it doesn't work. So for example, let's say it teleports. Straight off the bat, as soon as combat starts, it could use it. But let's say on its first turn it teleports somewhere. On its next turn, it has to roll a 5 or a 6 on a d6 at the start of its turn. And if it succeeds, it could use the recharge ability, in this case teleport again. If not, then it just can't use it. It has to do something else. It's not like breaking a grapple, where you could use your action to try to do it, and then if you don't, then you just fail, like a spell where you try to use it, and if the other thing succeeds, then it's a waste of time. It's a waste. It's not a total loss. It's something it always gets to try to recharge automatically. It's not something it actively has to do. So like I said, the example, it teleports in the first round of combat. The second round of combat, it recharges, it rolls like a 2. It can't teleport again, so it could cast Firebolt, because that's his other action. It's the only other thing it could do. All it knows how to do is teleport around and shoot fire. And that's basically our monster here. It's all there is to it, really. Teleport, Firebolt are its only actions. It could hover, it sheds bright light, which doesn't really help it. It has dark vision anyway. And pretty, honestly, not very good stats. It has pretty decent HP of 60, like I said, and AC of 14. But other than that, it's not that challenging. It's very much a trick monster where once the party realizes, oh, cold damage stops it from doing as much damage. And that it has limited movement, so you could easily outrun it or hide from it. It's very easy to once you're out of line of sight, it's very easy to hide from it. So let's just go back to our map to put in the finishing touches. So here we are, and so let's just name this guy the Burning Eye. Let's call it Burning Eye. Give it a nameplate. 60 HP. And an AC of 14. And let's just save settings. And the reason I put these kind of walls here is so that way it could, or rather the party could, like, when they first walk in, it can't immediately shoot into the room where they started from. It can't even see them, so it can't even teleport to it yet. It'd have to teleport to, like, one of the corners and then teleport into the room. And when the party goes in, they could, like, they walk out behind that wall, see it, they could shoot at it and immediately step back, and then it can't attack them. So it's basically kind of a, the trick is that, one, it acts more as like an environmental hazard than an actual like immediate threat, and it's of course the cold damage, you know, that's a cool little trick to it. But the other one is that the party sees like a floating eye here that shoots like fire beams at it. They may think, oh, it's just like a turret. It can't move. And so they like kind of like camp up here, get ready to do like a whole like thing where they jump out, shoot, and jump back. And then they're like, okay, we jump out, we attack, we jump back in. All right, let's just let it sit there and do nothing. And then on its turn, it boom, it teleports to them, and they're like, oh crap. And so they're kind of like, oh crap, it could teleport. And that's kind of like the little jump scare, like, oh, we didn't know it could teleport. That's the little trick to it. So yeah, that's our new monster in our new room for day 62. You know, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And I apologize for the poor quality. It's not going to get any better.